Hello, my name is architect William Evans Halm. I'm the principal architect of Spectra, and well, I'm glad to be on Big Week. And today I just want to share something briefly with you on the connection between music, architecture, culture. You know, music, architecture, culture, they are all arts. They have similar principles. Everywhere in the world, music and architecture are so connected. Culture and architecture are so connected. In fact, in music, we have harmony. In architecture, we have a harmony. In music, we have texture. When you take sound and you layer it over several layers, you have texture. In architecture, we have texture. We have rhythm in music, we have rhythm in architecture. So there's so much connection between music and architecture, and I'm here to just discuss a few things with you. You know, music inspires architects a lot. Sometimes when you work and you have a block and you can't continue again, you listen to music to inspire you. But on a more serious note, culture, it plays a very great role in architecture. A culture, when you enter the city or when you enter into any nation, not a very cosmopolitan city. Cosmopolitan cities are intercultural, interracial, so you can't really see the culture. But when you enter a city that is more vernacular, by the architecture, you can tell the culture. If you went to Europe, you will know it's Europe. If you came to, let's say, a very regional side of an African city, you would see you are in Africa. If you went to, say, to the Arctic, by the architecture, you will know you are there. So architecture reflects the culture of a people, and it is also, culture also influences architecture. Like I was saying, when you enter a city, the culture reflects strongly in the architecture. In fact, you can tell the culture of a people is reflected in their music, is reflected in their fashion, is reflected in their architecture. These are the three expressions, or the visible expressions, of culture we see in a people. And you know, music and fashion are more, you see it on a smaller scale. But architecture is on a broader scale. You see it on the whole city, you see it in the whole town, and it's so amazing how the culture is reflected. So for example, if I went to London, where they try to maintain their culture of their buildings, you can see the culture there. If you came to US, if you went to the United States, you see a different set of architecture, and it tells you you're in a different place. If you went to, let's say, any North African city, let's say Morocco, you could tell that, look, I am not in London, I am not. So it defines a place. And architecture has a very strong role in how it influences people. Even the culture is not just the culture, let's say, of a people. It narrows down to even the workplace. So even the culture in the workplace is reflected in the architecture. Let me tell you something. You see, if you go to, for example, a working environment where it is strong hierarchy, top down, boss subordinate, you can tell from the way the offices have been arranged. Everybody's cubicled, everybody reports the boss. If you also entered an environment where the work culture is more homogeneous, where there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of transparency, you see it in the architecture. You see more transparency, you see more glass, you see more open offices, managers sharing space with staff. And so architecture is a funny thing. It broadly reflects the way we work, the way we live, and what we call as culture. Well, if we are to make a connection between music and architecture, you know, if you watch a music video, rarely don't you see a building in it. Music videos are always shot around buildings, and sometimes they look at the concept for the music and even choose where to shoot it. So there's always that connection between culture, fashion, architecture, and music. So architecture has a way of playing even on the psychology of people, and if we begin to appreciate this, we would be more interested in engaging maybe architects for a lot of things we do. Architects are very unique people. They are trained to think 360, as I say it. We envisage the needs of people. We look beyond just the building, we look at psychology, we look at the sociology, we look at the needs of the people. So for example, I think that we need to begin to engage architects beyond the building. We need to engage architects at the city scale. You know, we need to move from planning a city by just location of zones, functional zones. Oh, this area is for religious activities. This area is for residential activities. That is on the 2D layout. Now we need to begin to envision our city from a three-dimensional perspective. We need to see what the city is supposed to look like. So developers, even chiefs, when you are planning your layout, you need to engage an architect so that you can appreciate how the city or how your development will look from a three-dimensional perspective, because no human being experiences a two-dimensional thing. You experience life in three-dimensional. So it's important for us to appreciate the effect of architecture on us, how it affects our lives. If I put you in a room and I painted the room very light blue and very calm colors, you would think the temperature in the room is cooler. And if I put you in a different room with the same temperature, but painted the room red, you feel it's hotter. And that's why there's a psychology that even affects us. So if you go to schools for children, we use very gay colors, green, red, orange, because children are meant to be excited. They are meant to jump around, run around. If you go to restaurants, that's why we use red and yellows and oranges. So Papaya is playing the game very well with his colors in their restaurants. If you go to hospitals, we want the person to feel calm, we want him to feel relaxed. We use monochrome, or we use calming colors, light green, we use maybe light blue to give you a calming effect. So you see, it has a role, it plays a role just beyond building a building. And so I'll finally end by saying, just sharing a few reasons or advantages of having an architect on anything you do. You know, many of us think that, oh, architects are very expensive. And it's cheaper to use an architect, actually. If you have a project, for example, and you had an office building, the architect looks at your office building you want to design, looks at your budget, and is able to design to suit your budget. So my name is William Evans Halm. I'm an architect, and you just got ratified.